Someone is sitting at their kitchen table with a laptop open and a drink they probably didn't need, and a bank statement they've been avoiding for 3 weeks. Good job, good apartment, good life by every visible measure. Income up 40% over 5 years. And yet, looking at the numbers right now, the savings account has barely moved since the last time they looked, which was also a Tuesday. Here's the thing, there was no disaster, no gambling problem.
No emergency. No single moment of stupidity.
Just 1,000 small upgrades that happened so gradually, they didn't register as decisions. A slightly nicer grocery store. A streaming service added during a free trial that never got canceled. An extra dinner out because the week was hard. A slowly creeping sense that a higher salary deserves a slightly higher everything. That's it. That's the whole story, and it's the story of almost every person who earns more than they expected to and somehow still isn't building wealth.
The gap between what you earn and what you actually keep doesn't usually open because of one bad decision.
It opens because of no decision, because spending has a way of quietly upgrading itself to match whatever comes in, and the 10 habits in this video are the answer to that. None of them are exciting. None of them require you to give up the things you actually enjoy or turn your life into a frugality experiment. They're boring. Some of them are almost embarrassingly simple, but boring is the point. The more boring your money feels to manage, the better it tends to perform.
I'm Matt. This segment explores practical approaches to achieving genuine financial well-being, moving beyond superficial portrayals. If that sounds useful, subscribe. Let's get into it.
Habit No. 1 is the subscription graveyard audit. And I call it that because for most people, the majority of their recurring charges are effectively dead services they signed up for. The money just leaves automatically every month while you're not paying attention. The average American pays for somewhere around $219 worth of subscriptions every month. That number tends to surprise people. Not because any individual charge is that large, but because there are so many of them. A streaming platform you added during a free trial.
A fitness app you used for 2 weeks in January.
A software tool you signed up for on someone's recommendation and opened twice. A new site you barely remember subscribing to. They all add up. The audit is simple and takes about 20 minutes. Pull up your bank or credit card statement and go line by line through every recurring charge. Did I use this in the last 30 days? Would I notice if it disappeared tomorrow? If the answer to both is no, it goes. Here's what that math actually looks like. Say you cancel 4 services at an average of $14 each. That's $56 a month. Unremarkable on its own. But $56 a month invested over 20 years at a 7% average return is just over $29,000. That's one afternoon of scrolling through your bank statement. The reason this habit works isn't just the money, it's the attention it creates. When you go through your subscriptions deliberately, you stop spending on autopilot. You start asking the same 2 questions everywhere else. And autopilot spending is where most money quietly disappears. Lifestyle drift, the thing that closes the gap between what you earn and what you keep, runs on autopilot. This habit is the first place you shut that down. Do this once a quarter.
Set a calendar reminder right now if you're watching this. 20 minutes, 4 times a year.
It will save you more than almost anything else on this list. Habit No. 2 is paying yourself first, not as a concept, but mechanically automated. Automated, non-negotiable, gone before you see it. Most people have the order backwards. They get paid, cover the essentials, spend what feels reasonable, and then save whatever's left. The problem is that whatever's left has a way of shrinking to zero by the time you get to it. There's always something, a dinner you didn't plan, a car thing, a random Tuesday where everything costs money. We've all had that Tuesday. The fix is architecture, not willpower. Before the money hits your checking account, or the moment it does, a set amount moves automatically to savings or investment. You don't decide in the moment because you never see it in the moment. The decision is made in advance when you're calm and thinking clearly, and then the system handles it from there. Here's why the mechanics matter so much. Take $300 a month. If you wait and save what's left, most months you'll save somewhere between $0 and $300, depending on how life goes. If you automate $300 the day you get paid, you save $300 every single month without thinking about it. The difference over 20 years at a 7% return isn't marginal. It's $163,000 versus whatever you manage to scrape together. Compound growth doesn't care about your intentions. It only counts what actually moves. The number doesn't have to be $300. It can be $50. The habit is the architecture, making the transfer automatic. Start with a number that doesn't hurt, then raise it slightly every time your income goes up. Most people never notice the difference. This is the most direct counter to lifestyle drift there is. When income goes up and the automated transfer goes up with it, the extra money gets captured before it can silently become a higher base. Stop boredom shopping. And I don't mean spend less. I mean specifically identify the moments when you shop. Because you have downtime, not because you actually want something. Those are different things. And they cost different amounts. Boredom shopping doesn't feel like spending. It feels like browsing. You open an app. You're not looking for anything specific, and 45 minutes later you have 3 things in a cart that didn't exist in your brain 2 hours ago. The want got manufactured while you were scrolling. That's a very different situation than deciding in advance you need something and going to get it. The replacement protocol is the actual habit here, because just don't browse doesn't work on its own. You have to replace the time with something. And the key inside is that the replacement doesn't have to be productive. It just has to be engaging enough that you're not reaching for your phone to fill the gap. For some people, it's a gym habit. For others, it's a skill. Cooking, drawing, running, learning an instrument badly in their living room. For others, it's as simple as a book they're genuinely absorbed in. The format matters less than the engagement level. Boredom shopping happens in the low engagement pockets of your day. Fill those pockets with something that requires attention. The second piece is boundaries around when purchasing is allowed. A few that actually work. No purchases within the first hour of waking up. No buying from your phone, only from a laptop with intention. No checkout without a 24-hour wait on anything over a certain dollar amount. More on that one later. None of these feel like deprivation once they're habits. But in the first few weeks, they reveal exactly how much of your spending was never really about wanting the thing. It was about having something to do. Lifestyle drift loves boredom. It's one of the primary channels through which small, unnoticed spending accumulates into a permanently higher baseline block. Block the channel. Habit No. 4 is the grocery rotation, and yes, it sounds relentlessly boring. That's the point. Pick 4 or 5 meals you actually like making. Use those same meals on rotation every week. Same list, same store, same approximate cost. There are about 47 variations of this idea online, and they all work for the same reason. Predictability eliminates. The financial logic is straightforward. It always has been, and it always will be. A household that spends $180s a week on groceries without a system will spend significantly more than a household running a deliberate rotation, impulse buying items you don't need, and still ordering food out when the fridge contents don't form a coherent meal. Run that conservatively, say $40 saved per week by having a system. Over a year, that's $2,080. Cool. I saved $2,000 by knowing what I'm having for dinner. Financial mastermind stuff. The part people resist is thinking they'll get bored of the same meals. In practice, most people are already eating a narrow rotation, they just don't realize it because there's no structure around it. Adding sauce variations, swapping one meal per week, or doing a seasonal update every 2 months gives you a novelty without. This isn't deprivation, it's just removing the category of what are we having tonight from your daily decisions, which turns out to be more valuable than it sounds. Habit No. 5. The 24-hour wish list rule. This one is not complicated, but the math on it is different than most people think. Anything you want to buy goes on a list. You wait 24 hours. Then you look at the list again. What you'll find consistently is that somewhere between 60 and 80% of the things on that list no longer look interesting the next day. The want was real when you encountered the item, often because you were browsing, or because you saw it in the right context at the right moment. The urgency fades. The psychological mechanism here is important. Retail is designed to manufacture urgency. Limited time, limited stock, only 3 left, social proof, curated imagery. All of it is built to shrink the window between I want this and I bought this. The 24-hour rule is a manual override on that system. It inserts a gap that the urgency can't survive. Here's what that looks like financially. Say you encounter 5 potential purchases a week. A piece of clothing, a kitchen item, a book, something an algorithm showed you twice. Average cart value, $35. If you buy all 5, that's $175 a week in unconsidered spending. If the 24-hour rule eliminates 70% of those purchases, you're saving roughly $6,070 a year, not by deciding. The items that survive 24 hours are the ones worth buying. You enjoy them more, use them more, and feel better about the purchase. The habit improves your spending quality while dramatically reducing its quantity. That's the version of saving money that doesn't feel like punishment. Habit No. 6, coffee at home, but not for the reason you think. The latte factor narrative has been around long enough that most people have heard it and already dismissed it. The math on a daily $6 coffee is real, that's $2,190 a year. But the reason this habit matters isn't purely arithmetic. It's about what daily automatic spending does to your brain. When a purchase becomes fully automatic, you do it every day, which means it also stops getting evaluated. And the moment spending stops getting evaluated, it becomes the floor of your budget. Keep it for the moments that actually earn it. A work meeting, catching up with someone, a slow weekend morning that deserves the experience. Those purchases add something. The daily automatic version just costs $2,190 a year and doesn't register as a decision at all.
Matching.
Make good coffee at home. Spend on the beans if that's what makes it worth it. The savings matter. This is where the joy factor lives. You're not cutting coffee, you're upgrading how you experience it. The latte isn't the enemy, the autopilot is. Cost per use math. Apply this to everything you're considering buying, and you'll make better decisions almost automatically. The formula is simple. Price divided by number of times you'll actually use it. A $180 jacket you wear 60 times costs $3 per use. A $40 fast fashion version you wear 3 times before it falls apart or you get bored of it costs $13.30. Most people know this intuitively but don't apply it consistently because retail pricing is designed to make the cheaper item look like the better deal at the point of purchase. The sticker price feels like the cost. It isn't. The cost is what you pay divided by the value you actually extract. Apply the same math to experiences, subscriptions, kitchen tools, gym equipment, anything. The question isn't, is this X dollars? It's, how many times will I actually use this, and what does that make the real cost? The habit that develops alongside this is quality bias. When you start thinking in cost per use, you stop buying cheap versions of things you use every day. A cheap cutting board you hate every morning costs more than a good one that lasts 7 years. This sounds obvious.
That is a great value.
But most people's spending doesn't reflect it, because the upfront number feels more real than the long-term math. Cost per use thinking also naturally filters out impulse buys. Items you'll use once or twice look expensive under this framework, not cheap. The psychological reframe matters because it changes what affordable means. Habit 8. Pay yourself first. We covered the automation piece earlier, but there's a layer underneath this that most people skip. Automation handles the mechanics. Money moves before you can spend it. The layer underneath is the framing. Your savings contribution is a fixed expense. It is not optional. It is not what's left over. It is a bill you pay to your future self, with the same non-negotiability as rent. This sounds like a mindset reframe, and it is. But mindset reframes that get backed by mechanical systems actually change behavior. You don't look for reasons to skip it in a tough month. When savings is just whatever's left over, every month with a competing priority becomes a reason to undercut it. Here's the long-run math again because it's worth repeating. Someone who saves $400 a month from age 8 to 58 consistently with someone who tries to save what's left over and averages $150 a month over the same period ends up with around $170, same 30 years. The difference is $284,000, and it came almost entirely from consistency, not from a higher savings rate. This habit closes more of the gap between earners and accumulators than almost anything else on this list. High earners who don't accumulate, skip this one. People who build real wealth don't. Habit 9. The boring weekly routine. Not a productivity system, not a morning routine for optimization purposes, just a predictable weekly structure that you actually run. The financial benefit of routine is underrated because it's indirect. When your week has a structure you follow, you spend less time in the I don't know what to do with myself, I'll just order food and buy something mode that tends to appear whenever there's unstructured downtime. A routine also reduces exposure. The less time you spend scrolling for entertainment, browsing out of boredom, or making last-minute plans because you have nothing else to do, the lower your spending baseline tends to be, not because you're denying yourself, but because the spend triggers simply are less often. Without a routine, downtime tends to get filled with social media, which is built to surface the most aspirational version of everyone around you. That's a reliable trigger for, I should be doing more, buying more, having more. A structured routine keeps the blinders on. You're not comparing your Wednesday evening to someone else's curated highlight reel.
You're just doing the thing you do on Wednesday evenings. You don't have to have the same routine forever.
But having one that works and staying inside it most of the time is one of the highest leverage spending habits that never gets described. Rent is not negotiable. You don't look at the first of the month and decide whether you feel like paying it. You pay it. It happens. Savings for most people doesn't work that way. It's elastic. It expands when things are going well and contracts. It tends to get cut every time it matters most, during a stressful month, when there are competing priorities, when the habit is weakest. Here's what it looks like to change that. Set a savings target, a real number, not aspirational. Make the transfer automatic on the day you get paid. Call it what it is, a non-negotiable monthly obligation. When a tough month comes and something has to give, savings is the last thing you cut, not the first. Practically, someone who treats $500 a month as non-negotiable savings starting at 30 and continuing for 10 years, that's not a large monthly number, it's just consistent for long enough to matter. The person who saved it has the same income, same expense. That cushion changes what decisions you're able to make. It changes what you can afford to say no to. It changes the whole shape of the decade ahead. The boring version of your money is the rich version of your money. None of these habits are dramatic. None of them require a total lifestyle overhaul or a long period of deprivation. They require attention, the kind that comes from doing simple things deliberately instead of letting them happen on autopilot. The man at the beginning of this video figured out why his savings hadn't moved. He ran the subscription audit and canceled $84 a month he didn't notice. He automated a savings transfer for the first time. He started the 24-hour list. 6 months later, he had more saved than he had in the previous 3 years. The gap closed not because his income changed, but because lifestyle drift finally ran out of places to hide. Start with one habit. Just one. The audit. The automation. The wish list. Run it for 30 days. Then add another. The boring version of your money is the rich version of your money. You're going to want to come back to that one. The boring version of your money is the rich version of your money. Your your come tension. You're going to want to come back to that one.